G'day from the Australian Grand Prix at Albert Park. Straight up, it was drivers' portrait shots today in the paddock, with all of the drivers arriving for a couple of minutes for the photographers to shoot them, except two drivers, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Now, this is the first time, I'm told, by seasoned photographers that drivers have not shown up for this start of the season shot. It's pretty much been an institution because the drivers have to go to the FIA garage where they're weighed in their suits, helmets, hands devices, and on the way back they stop for a minute for a picture. However, Ferrari have said that they already have those images and they make them available to the media, and as such they saw no reason for their drivers to do this, which is sad because we have this great series of 18 shots, just missing two. On the subject of one of those drivers, Lewis Hamilton arrived this morning, and to my delight, he was wearing fashionable gear. We'd feared that him arriving in Ferrari kit at testing would put an end to him wearing fashion in the paddock, but that's not the case. He was wearing this Jacquemus suit without a shirt. His two security guys, who are not his regulars, were walking far enough apart that they didn't obstruct the shot, and these were the resultant pictures from that moment. Of course, it wasn't long before he was into red Ferrari gear and going about his day's duties. I was happy to see George Russell have some fun with it, posing left and right. He actually arrived without his helmet, unfortunately, but did agree to this pose so we could Photoshop a helmet in there if we wanted. And were all the drivers on time? A couple were late, and Kimi Antonelli famously early by about 12 minutes. And a reminder too that I do a photo book for every single F1 race, including the Australian Grand Prix. You'll be able to find that on my kimellman.com website come Monday. Right, so I'm standing at the front here of the gates at the Melbourne Grand Prix with a bunch of very happy people. So these people have arrived at
3:50, 3 a.m.
12:30 and 1:30.
These are passionate fans, but it's one thing to make it to the front. It's another thing to make it to the front of the Melbourne Walk.
We got to sprint. We got to be at the front. I'm not a good runner.
What are you going to do when the gates open?
Well, that depends on what you're going to tell us.
So it's a real lucky dip for these guys, but the reward is something special. Front row at the Melbourne Walk, and an opportunity to see all their favourite drivers.
I was sort of making up heaps of driver cards for all the drivers, and I'm like, why not give Kim a chance too?
We're from Travellers Aid, and we're supporting people with mobility requirements at the Grand Prix.
I want to get that. So what's going on?
Just living it up.
It's all custom made.
Right, nice.
Lovely.
So who do you follow?
I like Lewis Hamilton, obviously.
Well, I made a promise that if he won a race last year, I'd get it tattooed on me. I'm a man of my word.
What's this about?
My favourite driver, obviously.
Let's represent.
Daniel Ricciardo, Oscar Piastri.
Daniel's got a pop-up and waited an hour and a half and caught him out the back.
I've come all the way from New Zealand to celebrate Lawson.
You might remember that last year I gave all of the drivers a pack containing a whole host of goodies, including one of these leather men. Well, it's a leather man. Well, today I gave all of the team principals one, plus the 5 new drivers. And I can tell you they're pretty darn happy about it. Thank you, leather man, for stumping up for those gifts. I was surprised to see this man in the paddock. This is Blake Friend, Daniel Ricciardo's manager. And I did actually ask him whether we're likely to see Daniel at the track. He took a second or so to respond and said, no. So there you have it. Don't expect to see Daniel Ricciardo this weekend. He is in Melbourne though. He has a pop-up shop for his Enchante merchandise in the heart of Melbourne. And I imagine he's enjoying the change from race car driver to fashion retailer. Now this picture of Kimi Antonelli took some work because he was on the scooter. Luckily he wasn't going terribly quickly, so I had to race past him at full speed to get ahead to capture the young Italian. And I tell you what, Kimi is pumped about this weekend. It's his first chance in an excellent car. Will we see him on the podium? That would be a dream come true for him. Last night I attended Glamour on the grid, actually got dressed up for it. Came across Michael Massey, we had a good chat. Michael is doing fine, he certainly has a lot of fans and a lot of detractors, but he's over that now. Funny story though, this is a little bit that Kick It Forward did in one of their podcasts.
Was sitting near the front, so I logged into the Virgin Wi-Fi. Instead of paying $20 for an internet pass, I used his last name and seat number he was sitting in and got free Wi-Fi for the remainder of the flight.
The Kick It Forward guys were actually at the event, so I took Michael over and introduced him to this fella, Josh Garlop, who is a mountain of a man, and took Josh a while to realise what was going on, and then he was smitten with the fact that he was meeting Michael for the first time, and they both laughed about that story. If you were seated out here on the Melbourne Walk today, I'm sure you would have enjoyed the pleasant weather, not too hot. However, you wouldn't have seen too many drivers. A mere 9 of the 20, I'm told, rolled up. That's disappointing for those people you saw earlier who'd been there since, well, queued up since midnight, really. Unfortunately, a lot of the drivers choosing to avoid it. Now, that may change come Saturday and Sunday. We'll have to see. But unfortunately, there are very few photos of people on that Melbourne Walk because the photographers weren't allowed on there. Last year, admittedly, it was a bit of a scrum, especially when the likes of Lewis came in. But unfortunately, we've been relegated to the back blocks, and pretty much you only get shots of the back of a driver's head. Now, in testing, we saw the new Tag Heuer clock, which replaced the Rolex clock at the end of pit lane. Well, today in the paddock, we were treated to what we're going to see at every race this year, I imagine, and that is this Tag Heuer watch on this stand. Your thoughts in the comments, please. Going back a month ago, this journalist contacted me and said he'd like to do a story, and today I was thrilled to get a copy of this magazine. Admittedly, it's in German, but it is one of the biggest German publications going around, if not the biggest, and of course one can't be unhappy with 4 pages of coverage. Danke Bild. Franco Colapinto was with us today. I was told last week that he'd be joining us at the track as reserve driver for Alpine, and he certainly was here. I was walking with James Vowles when he quickly peeled off to go and say hello to his past racer, and at that moment Franco urged him to try mate. Now, mate is a herbal tea that he is a big fan of, and I thought, well, this is going to be very funny, so I positioned myself so I could get the reaction shot. He tried this herbal tea, and this was James Vowles' reaction. Clearly not a fan of the drink, but obviously a big fan of Franco Colapinto. Franco will be with us all weekend and no doubt watching on keenly to see how Jack Doohan goes, and Pierre Gasly for that matter, as you have to think that he would be hot favourite to take any seat that might pop up at Alpine. Now let's talk press conferences. I thought this was a masterstroke by Formula One, pairing up Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Antonelli. The 3 drivers linked by Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes, opening up Kimi's seat, and of course Carlos being outed for Lewis to step in. At most F1 circuits, drivers have their own toilets in the hospitality suite or in their motorhomes, but here at Albert Park they have to share the toilets with the general public. These toilets here service Paddock Club guests coming down these stairs, but drivers also use them. So it's not uncommon for a Paddock Club guest to be standing next to a driver at the men's urinal. This might have been an interesting conversation. Alex Wirtz, who is the chairman of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, chatting with fellow committee member Carlos Sainz out in the paddock, plus Carlos's dad for good measure. It's well documented that the Drivers Association is not happy with the measures that the FIA have put in place to fine them for swearing. Maybe it was about that. Who knows? Well, with that said, I'm going to leave you to go about your other duties, but please, before you go, subscribe and like this video. I'll be most grateful to you. And for a whole lot of extra content, nip over here and have a look, including merchandise and new bucket hats, not this design, a new one, coming soon. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate!
Hello.
Hi.
Who's on it?
Thank you so much.
Look at us.
Lawson, Brundle, and Daniel.